Noreen and welcome to my kitchen. And today we're going to revisit a real kitchen basic, baking powder biscuits. I did a version of this several years ago and I've got a little bit of an updated version. Since it's close to Valentine's Day, we're going to cut them out with a heart cookie cutter, and we added a little extra butter to get these extra flaky, and we laminated the dough extra long to get these amazing flaky layers. These biscuits are going to knock your socks off. So let's go see how we make these wonderful baking powder biscuits. Let's get started. Now, my baking powder biscuit recipe has not really changed. I am, however, making a flakier version this time, and the only difference is I'm adding 4 tablespoons additional of butter, and that's just to facilitate a flakier biscuit. My regular recipe is just fine, but I'm just going to go ahead and use 2 full sticks of butter, which I have cut into cubes, so we're going to use that in just a minute. What I have in the bowl is 4 cups of unbleached all-purpose flour. To that, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of baking powder and a teaspoon of salt, and that is Himalayan pink salt. You use whatever salt you have on hand or whatever salt you like to use. I'm just going to take a fork and blend this together. And then I'm going to toss my butter in here. And I like to just coat those little cubes of butter in the flour. That way it just gives me a little bit of a head start when I bring in the pastry blender. I like to use this type of pastry blender. I was just noticing, I told Rick this thing's probably 20 years old. It's bent and the chrome plating is starting to come off, so I look like I'm going to probably have to replace this soon. In any case, there are 2 kinds of pastry blenders. There's the wire kind and this solid kind. This is the one I prefer because I think that you get a better crumb when you're mixing your butter into your flour. So just come in here and let's start cutting. When you cut butter into flour, you're just incorporating the butter into the flour and you're turning it into a fine crumb. You want this to resemble peas or cornmeal or little beans when you're finished. You want it to be much smaller than it was in the beginning. And when I do this, I come down and then I twist. And I turn the bowl with my other hand at the same time. It doesn't take very long at all. But you don't want giant lumps of butter. But if you end up having a couple, it's okay. You just don't want them all to be super big, because then you're not really going to have a flaky biscuit. It's going to be greasy in spots. Oh, and I neglected to tell you, the butter was cold. Okay, you don't want the butter to be room temperature or softened at all. You want it to be solid. Now you can see what it looks like. It looks like cornmeal. It really does. With some larger pieces of butter. That's exactly how you want it to look. Now we're going to take 2 cups of buttermilk, and it has to be buttermilk. And I'm just going to pour it in here. And depending on the day, you may need a little bit more. Now we're actually going to cut these biscuits a little on the large side today because we're going to be making something with them, and we're going to be cutting them in a fun shape. Now you don't need to mix it too much at this point. You just want to get that buttermilk to start absorbing into the flour, and I'm turning it with my fork until it starts to turn into something that resembles a dough. Now I'm going to take a dough scraper and I'm just going to turn this out onto the board that I have liberally floured. And get all of that, if there's some crumbs in the bottom of the bowl, get them out of there. Okay, now your dough is going to feel like it's too wet. Go ahead and sprinkle it with some flour. Okay? I feel kind of moist over here, so. Alright. Your dough scraper is going to be your best friend here, and if you don't have one, I highly recommend that you get one. Now I want you to take your dough scraper and I want you to start taking the dough up from the underside and pushing it up on top of itself. Okay? And if you get to a point where it starts to feel sticky, go ahead and add a little more flour to the mix. And you can just start pressing it down into itself and folding it in thirds into the middle.
This is what gives you the layers?
This is laminating the dough, yes. We're going to press it out. We're going to do that a few times. You don't want it to be feeling, sticky. You want this to feel nice and workable. You see, it's still sticky on the bottom. I'm going to do this fold one more time. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to spread my dough out to the thickness and size that I desire. I like my dough to be 3/8 of an inch. All right, I'm cutting out my biscuits, and you can see I'm doing them in hearts because it's almost Valentine's Day. And what
Because you love me.
Yeah, that too.
Oops.
The one most important thing that I cannot stress more is that when you cut your biscuits and you're using a round cutter, please don't twist it. Otherwise, your biscuits will not rise up. They will fall over lopsided. You want to cut them quickly and straight down, just like that. And you want to bring the cutter straight up, just like that. All right, our biscuits are all laid out and ready to go in the oven. While I was rolling them out, I preheated my oven to 350 degrees. We're going to pop these in here for 15 to 18 minutes. When they're ready to come out, I'll bring you back and I'll show you what they look like. All right. My biscuits are really big, so I left them in the oven for about 25 minutes. But
I love your big biscuits.
really. Now I'm just going to want to brush these on the top with a little bit of butter. This, of course, is completely optional, but I do find that it renders a nice soft biscuit. Okay, our biscuits are ready to serve. We're going to be making these into something reminiscent of a local chain, and that chain, we live in eastern North Carolina, and we have a chicken chain here called Bojangles. They have really good biscuits, and at Valentine's time, about the week before Valentine's leading up, they always serve their biscuits cut out in the shape of hearts, and I always thought that was so cute that we decided to go ahead and do that this year to make our own Bojangles style biscuits. And you can see how beautiful and flaky this biscuit is. It's just layers of goodness. So good. So that's how you make a killer baking powder biscuit. I hope that you give this a try, and I hope that you love it. Who's not going to love this? I mean, seriously. So until next time, I'll see ya. For joining me in my kitchen today. I hope you liked what you watched today, and I hope that you try it, and I hope that you love it. If you like what you saw, please consider hitting the thumbs up button and giving me a positive rating. And also, make sure that you hit the subscribe button if you're already not a subscriber so that you don't miss out on any of the fun we have here in our kitchen every single day. I hope that you enjoyed it. I'm really glad that you're here. Thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to come by tomorrow. Until next time, happy eating!